So in this episode, we have, and he'll laugh because I say this every time, but we have a real treat because this is the 30th episode. In fact, in the last 2 months, since Arbitrate.com was up and running and the arbitration conversation has begun, we actually have already hit 30 episodes. So for our 30th episode, I really wanted to have the leader, the visionary, no other than Colin Rule. So Colin Rule, we all know, of course, he won the Frank Sander Innovator Award this past year with the American Bar Association, which is huge. And he used to be with Tyler Technologies and was the CEO of Modria. And now he actually is he's the CEO of Resourceful Internet Solutions, which includes Mediate.com, Arbitrate.com, and others. So Colin, we get to have you for the 30th episode. Thank you so much for taking the time with us.
I'm so honored. Thank you so much, Amy. I'm delighted to be here with you. And look, the reason why I got that Frank Sander Award, which is probably the biggest honor of my professional life in ADR, is because of you. Because you nominated me and you wrote an amazing nomination. So thank you so much. That was such a wonderful thing. So I'm glad that you featured that, but everyone should know that you played a key role in making that happen. And that's one of the reasons.
Well, it was meant to be because you are the innovator. I mean, honestly, look at everything you've done in this world of online dispute resolution. And of course, we could talk for hours about that and just what COVID-19 has done for ODR. But
Sure.
In this conversation, I want us to kind of focus on really what's happening with Arbitrate.com, because this is really exciting. It's a really exciting new resource because we had Mediate.com with this rich and amazing history, but Arbitrate.com really didn't have anything until really 2 months ago.
Sure.
So I would love to kind of hear about your vision and what you were thinking about as you decided to reinvigorate Arbitrate.com and to give it meaning.
Well, I appreciate the question. Thank you, Amy. And yes, we are in a mutual admiration society. I think many people know that we wrote the book New Handshake together, and we've collaborated over the years. And I'm delighted to be collaborating with you on building out Arbitrate.com. I mean, I love all of the great work that you've done on the arbitration conversations. I'm lucky enough to be the guy that edits them, so I've seen every minute of every interview. So that's why I love joking that every episode you're so excited to talk with people. And the reason why is because you get such great people. I mean, it's an amazing, I'm hearing more people in the field talking about the arbitration conversation and saying what a contribution it is. I think it's so valuable now to have these conversations recorded, sort of talking about the latest developments. But what I've seen at Mediate.com, as you said, I was general manager of Mediate.com in 1999, and we recorded dozens, hundreds now, of interviews with some of the leaders in the field. And as I said, they were interesting at the time when Mediate recorded them, but now we've lost a lot of those people. Frank Sander and Roger Fisher and Margaret Shaw and Sid Lezak. I mean, these are amazing people. And to have these interviews, such a gift, because that means we can share them with future generations too. And it really starts to be, I think they say, the news is the first draft of history. And I feel like right now we're doing the news in arbitration, but part of that is also we're putting these things into the record. And I feel like Mediate.com is really the custodian of the history of the mediation movement in the United States and now internationally. And I feel like Arbitrate.com is becoming that too. And I couldn't be more excited about it. The way that I see online dispute resolution, and I'm sorry, I can go on and on, so I'll let you in a minute. The way I see ODR is it embraces all of ADR, and that includes arbitration, and it includes mediation, and it includes negotiation, and other things like problem diagnosis. So, and as an ODR guy, it's crucial to me that we have arbitration and mediation, because it's not that they're two separate fields, they overlap. And I think what's interesting to me is how this is all fusing together into a new vision of the future of ADR, technology-enabled, accessible, young, efficient, and AI-powered. And I think that's going to be really what drives innovation over the next 5, 10, 15 years.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, again, like, of course, but I do agree. And the other thing, we talked about this earlier, but before we started taping, but the other really exciting thing that I know for me was really exciting when we were talking about Arbitrate.com is just getting these fresh voices, right? And we're in a moment of history. There's really, there's a pandemic, there's injustice in the world, there's so much happening where dispute resolution is really at core. And so maybe you want to speak to sort of your vision when you think about who should be involved. What types of leaders are we what are we thinking when we think about arbitration and arbitrate.com in particular?
Totally. Well, I really feel like technology is transforming the world. And it's obviously already transformed medicine, it's transformed entertainment, it's transformed finance, but the law has not really been that transformed yet by technology. It's kind of one of the last holdouts, but I think we're on the cusp of some huge change in the law. And if you look at the traditional, judicial channels, the courts and tribunals, they're not really built to innovate. They don't move that quickly. And as society is evolving very quickly in response to technology, the courts are increasingly being left behind. And I think what that does is it allows alternative dispute resolution to really assume the pole position in driving this innovation, because ADR is built to be nimble. It is built to be, it's sort of defined by what it's not. I mean, there's so much innovation in the ADR space. And when you marry that with technology, it's really incredible, what's coming around the pike. So, I really see that technology is going to open up huge new vistas in terms of expanding access to justice, in creating efficiencies and helping people resolve their disputes, getting fast, efficient, consistent outcomes. And I think that what I love seeing, especially with young practitioners, as you say, they're excited about this change. We have an opportunity to build a whole new justice system that works the way the internet works. And who's going to be doing that? I mean, you and I, we can sort of lay the groundwork, but I think a lot of this is going to be being done by people who are 3Ls right now,
Well,
So,
yeah, I mean, I love that. No, I mean, that's part of, also really important to me, as being a professor, is making sure that my students understand this is a brand new frontier. And in fact, just yesterday, I don't know, maybe you want to comment on, because it just came out this week, I guess Wednesday it was released, but Utah has now eased the restrictions on the unauthorized on the practice of law, and they're encouraging a sandbox mentality. So exactly that idea, let's innovate. Let's think about how we can address access to justice issues using ODR and other technologies with respect to dispute resolution in particular.
Well, the Utah judiciary has been way out front on this. The keynote at our ODR conference at the National Center for State Courts this year was done by Dino Jimenez, who's on the Supreme Court there. So the creation of this legal sandbox that really enables that kind of innovation is great. I actually think there are innovations happening in all the Western states right now that are sort of, again, cracks in the fortress that has protected the law from sort of the pressures of innovation. But this entrepreneurial approach to legal services, I think, it's actually already happening around the rest of the world. And I think the US has actually been a little bit behind the curve because the bar associations to a certain extent are much more powerful here than they might be in some of the other geographies. So, we see innovations in Singapore and in China and Canada and the Netherlands that have been far outpacing what we've seen in the US. But now I think the US is catching up. And I think the UK is also announcing a kind of a legal sandbox approach too, where we can try some of these new, when I first started doing ODR 20 years ago, I got the unauthorized practice of law letters that said essentially, back off, you're not a lawyer, because I'm a non-lawyer mediator. But at the same time now, I feel like I'm getting invitations from presidents of bar associations saying, hey, can you help us figure out what's coming next? And the ABA has this whole Legal Rebels initiative trying to push innovation and say to young people, hey, come into the law. You can be an entrepreneur. You can create. We need to design these new systems. So I think that I see it seems very healthy to me. I see green shoots sprouting up through all the cracks in the sidewalks. And I think the right approach is to let 1,000 flowers bloom. Joseph Schumpeter came up with the idea of creative destruction. And that's kind of the way things work in Silicon Valley. You have 100 ideas and 99 of them fail, but one succeeds. And then out of the bones of those old companies will come new companies. And you'd have this cycle of creation, and it's moving the ball forward. And it's all moving us towards a future where we are going to have better access to justice, fairer, more consistent outcomes. And we're going to have to be open to things that we never thought about before, like machine learning and artificial intelligence and smart contracts and blockchain, all the things that you've been writing about. So I'm excited by this future. I'm not scared by it. I think there's more opportunity than there are challenges. There's definitely a lot of challenges, but I think this is going to be great. And that's what Arbitrate and hopefully Mediate is going to be all about, is helping to drive the future and organize all of us together in a vision for what that can look like.
Because that's the other piece of the puzzle, is problem solving, right? And so we think about all the different tools that we have in our toolbox. So
Yeah.
sometimes I know arbitration gets a bad rap, right? And so we talk about the pre-dispute arbitration clauses and consumer and employment, but the truth is it's been a problem-solving tool that's been around for a very, very long time and works
Oh, yeah.
very well in certain contexts. And so it is, again, it's that fitting the form to the fuss, right? And thinking about what type of dispute resolution process is right for that particular problem. And arbitration
Right.
is one of those tools.
Well, I mean, Tom Stepanovich has written about how arbitration is the new litigation, and I think a lot of, again, I don't mean to slam the lawyers, but I feel like arbitration was kind of taken over by the lawyers, and it sort of became a private court process. So you start to see the same delays. You see motions, you see witnesses, you see e-discovery, all the same stuff you see in the courts. It's replicated in these, and even providers like JAMS, the majority of their panelists are retired judges. So of course they're going to run these processes, these arbitrations, very similar to the way they ran their courthouses. But I think arbitration initially, the vision was it was going to be more streamlined, it was going to be more efficient. You could have these expert panels, you could build documents only processes. They talk about all these European rules. I mean, we've gotten some submissions at Arbitrate. They're talking about what all of the international arbitral organizations are doing to streamline the process, to make it more efficient. So I think we still have the opportunity to deliver on that initial vision. What I'm seeing also now with the Singapore Convention and evaluative mediation is there's sort of a blurring of the lines between arbitration, non-binding, case evaluation, evaluative mediation, facilitative mediation, and there's a fluidity between moving through all of those processes based on the needs of the parties. So like my friend Colin Brannigan in Canada is doing amazing work around MEDARB. And again, I think we've had artificial distinctions between these tools, but if you go and you actually talk to the disputants, they're very comfortable with the idea that the process would change based on the phase of the case, the phase that you're in of the dispute resolution process, and the needs of the parties and what they agree to. So we need to think outside the box in terms of questioning some of our pieties that I think we've taken as sort of unquestionable truths. And I think that that's a lot of what's happening now. Technology is urging us to do that reconsideration because there's so many new possibilities that are represented by these changes.
Oh, yeah. And we can't even, in fact, what we personally, right now, we can't even envision what's going to be possible in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now.
Totally.
It could be a totally different landscape, but we certainly see bits and pieces currently. I mean, even when you think about smart contract dispute resolution and the types of arbitration being used there,
Sure.
and crowdsourced dispute resolution. So there's a lot on the horizon that really, I mean, I think it's, again, just trying to solve problems, right? And I think if we can solve problems, then we're getting somewhere.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I look forward to working with you through arbitrate.com to help envision where this is all going.
So what should we look for next? What's next on the horizon for RIS? Because we've only been in 2 months. We're on episode number 30. What should we expect by episode 50?
Oh, 100 and 200 and 500. So get ready, Amy. We're going to keep going. Yeah, we have a lot of exciting plans. I don't want to tip our cards too much, but we've got some big meetings this week to set the strategy for the coming year. So stay tuned. I think there's some big.
Stay tuned. It's always good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Colin. Thank you for taking the time with us today, and thank you for letting us into your virtual, beautiful home on the ocean. So thank you.
Thank you, Amy. I really appreciate it.